Nearly 2 months after Nearly 2 months after Nolan Wells disappeared, one question still hangs over this case. What actually happened to him on July 4th? And now, the question has reached the highest level of Mississippi law enforcement. Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch was asked directly whether her office should step into the Nolan Wells investigation, especially with so many people questioning how the case has been handled. Her answer was careful. She said the investigation is active. She said local authorities are following their normal process. And she made it clear that, for now, her office is allowing the local authorities to handle it.
As it relates to the Nolan Wells investigation, we're nearly 2 months into the investigation. We still don't have a resolution. This case is still garnering widespread national attention. We know you made some remarks recently about concerns about making threats against law enforcement. What do you think needs to happen? Does there need to be some resolution at some point soon to this investigation so that you can allay the fears of people who have questions about a cover-up or authorities on the Gulf Coast not coming clean and letting the public know the truth about what happened, whatever that is?
It's horrific and sad when we lose any of our individuals here in Mississippi. And yes, absolutely. We'll be protective if people are being threatened or any harm that might be coming their way. That's certainly what the role is, to protect them as well. But, that's an active investigation, and I know they're going through the normal course that they always do with the DA's office and the investigation there. Should
your office take a role in it, given that this is such a high-profile case?
Well, we always adhere to our locals first, and so certainly they're doing their job. They're going through the process, and when the time comes, I guess we will all find out the information.
But that answer isn't going to end the questions. Because while officials say the investigation is ongoing, people examining the case are looking at a timeline filled with disputed details. GPS records, phone calls, sea-tow communications, boat movements, photographs, witness accounts, and the exact sequence of events surrounding July 4th and July 5th. Some of those details appear to raise questions about what happened, when it happened, and whether every part of the timeline has been fully explained. That does not mean those details prove a crime. It does mean they deserve to be examined carefully, because Nolan was 21 years old when he disappeared. His friends returned. Nolan didn't. 2 days later, his body was found on Horn Island, the same general area where he was last known to be with friends. And today, the public is still waiting for answers about his death. So tonight, we're putting the emotion aside and following the timeline. Because if these records are accurate, there are several moments investigators may need to explain. Before we get into these new details, I want you to pay attention to where some of this information is coming from. There is a woman who has been closely following the Nolan Wells case, breaking down the photographs, the timeline, the boat movements, and the records connected to the investigation. And according to her, that document contains details that she believes change the way certain events should be viewed. One of the first things she focuses on is a photograph showing what appears to be a reddish liquid running down the side of a boat. She is careful to acknowledge that nobody can definitively identify the substance from the photograph alone. But she argues that the appearance deserves attention, particularly because fishing boats are designed with surfaces that can cause liquids to spread and wash across them. She has continued posting her analysis on YouTube. And when you hear the way she connects these different pieces of information, you'll understand why so many people are paying attention to what she's finding. Because she isn't just looking at one photograph. She's putting the entire timeline under a microscope. So listen carefully to what she says next, because this is where the new questions about Nolan's case really begin.
Okay, folks, let's get into it, because I finally got my hands on the Al Sharpton defamation lawsuit, and it has been illuminating, to say the least, because y'all know that my specialty is those details, and clearly these people are not detail-oriented. I'm sure by now many of you have seen the picture that I posted yesterday with a mysterious red watered-down liquid dripping down the side of the boat. Now, none of us can definitively say what this is, but it's clear to me that some people have never gone fishing in their entire life, because those people trying to argue and say that the color is off, that it's too light, don't seem to get that fishing boats are specifically coated with something that makes things wash off of it, makes things thin, makes it easy to get things like fish guts out. But fine, if that's not enough for you, I'll keep going, because this TikToker literally over a month ago thought that they spotted this on the side of the boat. Now they noticed those drips, and full disclosure, they did run it through like a AI cleanup thing. And this was the result of that. And even when you go back and look at the older versions of this video, as the angle changes, you can see those drippy marks. But I even took this picture of Warren on the Triton with his fish just so I can show you what it does look like on the side of the boat when there is a red fluid. To me, it seems pretty obvious what this liquid is, because I genuinely racked my brain to think of something else it could be. And it just doesn't make sense for like an alcoholic beverage because it's on the outside of the railing. If you look back in the original Cito video, this person here, who I suspect to be Ike Pyrone, was holding something in his hands, and I could never figure out what it was until we got the new pictures. Here you can clearly see a gray something in his hands. Well, going back to this picture of Warren with all of his fish, you'll notice that the Triton has a gray towel normally wrapped around it. Oh, why would they need a towel if they're in the middle of sinking, unless they're trying to clean something up? I also noticed something in this much clearer raw shot of the Cito picture right here. We see something dark reddish here and like lighter red over here. Now, I have no idea what that is. It could be a towel. It could be a swimsuit cover-up. I did notice, however, it looked like somebody took a tool and like colored right here. What I do know is if you look at the original Cito pictures and videos, there's nothing seemingly red here. It does look like, however, is somebody's leg extending way too far into the console here. But again, can't say one way or the other what it is in the background there. What I can say, however, is remember when I said that the AI felt like it was being used on the Cito video to obscure the identities of the girls? Well, I was at least half right on this, because this is a third girl. This is not the girl in the blue swimsuit that we've been seeing before. How do I know? Well, by now we've all seen this picture, this video 1,000 times, right? Girl in the blue swimsuit with the backwards hat. Well, I have suspected for a long time now that there was somebody being hidden back here, and I was proven right. Y'all see how this girl is wearing a watch? Well, right there in the original video/photo is somebody back there wearing a watch. Once you know to look for it, you can actually see it. Make sure you got your brightness turned all the way up, but you can see that reflection of the watch right here. At the same time, the girl in the backwards hat is over here. Two major suspects for this, one of them being Lainey, but it seems to me like the more likely suspect is probably Ava, the other Seymour Hudson sibling. And as you can see here, she does in fact have an Apple Watch that sure looks a lot like the one right here. Also found extremely interesting in that letter. Remember how we've seen this picture? We never really confirmed whether it was real or not until Tatum showed us. So somehow Officer Tatum had his hands on this picture, and you'll notice in the filing, oh, look, what do we have here? The exact same swimsuit I talked about a couple days ago, and that whole friend group. So clearly this photo originated with the group that Katie got a ride from. Y'all know I have said for a long time that I suspected that Katie was in those pictures and on that boat based on the swimsuit and the white hat that she's wearing in this picture that was taken on the boat of the people that came and gave her a ride after being left on the island. And I do think that maybe they joined this group because there's a couple of faces that look familiar. But I'll circle back to that later. I want to point out some more little stuff that I've noticed before we get to the big stuff, the meat and potatoes of this video. Like here, how I noticed that the cooler that was on the boat earlier that day by the Cito pictures is suddenly got the handle broken off. Don't know if that's significant, but it's interesting. Also kind of surprised how nobody has pointed out in this picture that there is clearly at least one mom in that group. And I suspect that it's Katie Hudson Seymour, because she is literally like the only person I have found that has a shorter haircut. I'm talking kids, I'm talking adults associated with this group. I mean, clearly this is a mom vibe. So what boat did she go out on? I'm also very confused on why this portion of the tide line in that faraway picture doesn't seem to match up with this picture of the tide line. And sure, there's an argument where you can say, oh, it's just in heavy shadow, but I'm sorry, the water reflects the sunlight. You would get at least a color difference. But anyway, I also strongly suspect that the girl who's at the front of the boat is actually Warren and Carter's sister. Her head shape, her smile, all of it just that feels correct. But again, like, this is all my own opinion. Like, I don't know, you don't know. But the reason I say this is because if it's Katie on this boat with everybody, then that would make them the odd man out in this family affair. Notice how this boat is absolutely not sinking. Like, there's Wyatt still supposedly on the phone. Most of these people are standing in the same place. And look, you can even see Horn Island in the background. But this boat looks like it's about to go under. Guys, how did they magically get this boat to start floating without planing? Because remember, they're supposed to plane it to drain all the water out to stop it from sinking. Now, just the last little thing I want to touch on before I move on to the meat and potatoes is, anybody else think it's weird that the fingers are covering the picture? I mean, truly, when was the last time anybody recorded or took a picture and had their fingers over the camera? Like, especially with the finger, like, coming down over it like this. Like, I genuinely can't understand the mechanics of how they're holding this, because I know I haven't done that since digital cameras. So was this picture video also taken from that same digital camera that they all took the picture at the front of the boat on? One of the first things that piqued my interest in this defamation letter was this Apple Maps picture. Now, you'll notice in the factual background portion, they just say that it arrived at 10:50 on Horn Island, but conveniently makes no mention of when it left, because right here in this picture, it says 10:50, but 10:22 is the leave time, which is a half an hour difference from the 9:56 departure time we've gotten. That's when I started hearing the little buzzing start to go off. Because personally, I don't recognize this version of Apple Maps, so I don't know if this was the actual route they did or if they just looked up another route and included it. Now, I'm going to go through this chronologically, so keep up. Because now, because of this letter, we know the exact time that the sea tow call was made. And guess what, guys? It wasn't around 4 like they told us, but at 4:48. So that would be 17 minutes after the GPS said that they left Horn Island, which was at 4:31. You'll also notice at 4:48, they canceled the first call, almost as if they looked up the number, pressed the link, it started to call, they freaked out, canceled it, then gave themselves a breath to calm down, and then they called. Now, that would mean that by the end of that call, it was almost 5 o'clock, almost 2 hours after they noticed the boat first sinking, 2 hours after they supposedly left Nolan on this island. Now, given how close this picture is to this cluster of boats and this very casual pose that seems to be going on, I think it's absolutely possible that Katie and Orlaney called this group of friends and was like, hey, can you pick us up? Because we know that by 5:34, Katie was on the boat taking Snapchat pictures and having fun with these people, which just so happens to coincide with the 5:52 traveled into Fort Bayou time from the GPS. The Triton then returning to the dock at 6:06 p.m., which would be about 4 minutes after this picture of the guy in the red swim trunks that I think was Carter going out with this group earlier that day. Because I also suspect that this is Carter right here, based on the build, the lighter strawberry hair in the front. And then I think right here is backwards cap Katie, because remember how I said in this picture, it looked like these two people were cuddling up with each other. And by process of elimination, it had to be one of the girls in the blue swimsuits and the red shorts guy. I also suspect that this is Brooks and Kendall right here. You'll notice that it looks like he's wearing a very thick gold chain right here, and Brooks seems to wear this thick gold chain all the time. Now, there's no way for me to positively confirm the identities of these people, but it is a dot that would neatly connect these two boats. Now, fast forwarding to Warren's phone call with the Coast Guard that lasted 21 minutes, starting at 11:13. So that would mean by the time he got off the phone with the Coast Guard, it would be about 11:35. While he's on the phone with the Coast Guard, he and Christine are texting each other. She asked Nolan where Warren's car was, and he says at Jax's house. She says, where is that? Can you send me the address from where you guys launched? He says, yes, ma'am. She said, when was the last time you guys saw him? 3 p.m. Now, this is not a picture of Jax's residence. He sent her the actual location of the boat launch, not from Jax's house where they all supposedly left that morning. Why would he send her a picture of where they put the boat in the water instead of Jax's house that she's literally specifically asking for? Then he sends her the pin of the house next door to Jax's house. Okay, so you've given the wrong address twice now. Then Warren texts her this: "We launched the boats yesterday evening and left from here this morning." Because wait a fucking minute, y'all.
I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me, and I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck, and well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddies, and we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's 18-foot Palm Beach, and I drove the boat from 4 boat launch to my buddy's grandparents' house.
No wonder he was stuttering all over that story. It was a fucking lie. Because you trying to tell me that the day of all of this, he didn't remember when they put the boats in? He had a whole story about McDonald's and getting the ice and everything. But this means that they put all of those boats in the water the night before, and then everybody came over and had a sleepover party with 10, 15 people. Let's face it, it was probably just a regular party. Now, I know you've thought it, I've thought it. A lot of us aren't even sure that Nolan ended up at Horn Island at all, which would explain all of the weird Photoshoppy pictures that we're talking about. Now, if it wasn't for Javon and the coach, I know all of us would be like, did something happen the night before all of this? Because why lie? Why lie about what time you put the boats in the water? Now, after the 20-minute call with the Coast Guard, he then calls Christine back for about a minute. Then at 12:25, Warren gets a phone call from somebody from the Coast Guard that lasts only 2 minutes. So a whole hour has gone in between these calls. Now, mind you, listen to Trayston's side of this story because there's a bit of a time discrepancy on Trayston's end.
I didn't wake up again until a little after 11 o'clock. And I was my brother coming in the room and be like, "Hey, Warren's trying to get a hold of you. You need to answer the phone. They look for Nolan." And I'm half awake, and I pick up the phone. And by this time, nobody had came to the house to grab anything. And Warren gets on the phone, and he's just like, "Hey, man, he was like, hey, have you talked to Nolan? Anything else?" I was like, "No, I haven't talked to him, man. He was with that girl last Monday." And he was like, "Okay." He was like, "Man, we can't get hold of him. We don't know where he's at." I was like, "Man, it's Nolan. He's probably just out somewhere with that girl. Like, get hold of the girl. You probably found Nolan. It's no big deal." And he was like, "All right." He was like, "But we're starting to freak out. We're getting on the phone with Coast Guard." I was like, "Okay." And at that time, he'd already talked to his mom, Nolan's mom. And he was getting on the phone with Coast Guard. And I'd called. I need to be specific about this. I did not call Warren's phone. I called another one of our buddies' phone, and it was on speakerphone. They were all together. I was talking on my other buddy's phone, talking to Warren. He was dialing Coast Guard because he hung up the phone and was like, "Hey, this is Bob."
So Trayston says he gets the phone call a little after 11. Trayston's all like, "Oh, I don't know where she is," even though he's friends with Katie. Like, he keeps calling her that girl, but they were friends. Katie and his sister ran in the same friend group. Mind you, he said that he had already talked to Christine at that point, but Warren told Christine that nobody could find Katie. So they didn't actually talk to Trayston or anybody else about this Katie girl before telling the mom that they couldn't find her. Then you'll notice in that story, he said that they were on the phone with the Coast Guard, and then he was like, "Oh, they're calling, I gotta go," hanging up. But we now know that that second call that "I've gotta go, they're calling" happened at 12:30. So none of Trayston's story there is making sense. According to the very, very, very first MDR report, dispatch sent a call from Christine to Lieutenant Patrick Caron advising the dispatch of a caller reporting a missing male. So if Warren had called the Coast Guard by that point, spoke to them for 20 minutes, why didn't they reach out to MDMR? Let's not forget that the original statement from the Coast Guard was that they did not receive word of Wells' disappearance until 12:26 when the Jackson County Sheriff's Department reached out for assistance. And they later had to correct this to around 11 p.m., but they maintained that no formal assistance was requested at that time. Because it sounds to me like the Coast Guard wasn't actually notified until after Christine had talked to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, to which then they called Warren to get more information. But that call only lasted 2 minutes. Then we find out about 30 minutes later, Christine and Warren talk again on the phone at 1 a.m. exactly. Now that is extremely significant because guess what is happening at 1 a.m.?
They come back to my house at around 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, so you mean the same time Christine is on the phone with Warren? Now, mind you, he is trying to claim that that is when they came back to his house, that they had already been there, that they got the phone and they went to Wyatt's house and all that stuff happened. Wyatt called 911. But now we know for sure that that is not true because Jax and his brother didn't call 911 until almost 3 a.m. And this is confirmed by Christine's text to Warren saying that Nolan's dad is at the house to pick up the key. So it seems pretty obvious that Jax is confusing the two times, and the first time they showed up was at 1 a.m. They found out where Wyatt's boat was. They went to that house. Wyatt called 911 on them there. And then they came back, just his father, at about 2:30, an hour and a half later. Which lines up with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office talking to the friends who were on the boat with Nolan that day and reporting back at 1:38. And yet Odom says here that based on the information provided, they don't think Nolan's in any trouble. They don't need Coast Guard. They don't need to search for him. He's probably just chilling at some chick's house. They even say here that Warren agreed to talk to a deputy or investigator, but for some reason talk to them on another friend's phone. Something tells me they more or less had the attitude of, it's just our friend's mom being a little overprotective. I'm sure he's fine. Oh my God, I was going to talk about something else, but I think I just figured something out in real time. I'll save that for another video because I was going over the GPS again, right? Now, we all know that something has been fishy with these GPS coordinates for a while, especially considering that the GPS doesn't seem to stop moving for a very long time, going at a constant slowish speed for 2.5 miles. At no point do they ever mention the stopping, the calling the CTO, all of that stuff. Why isn't the GPS telling us about that? Now, at about 7:45, the boat was taken to the grandparents' house. Now, for Warren and Wyatt and everybody to come back together later on, it means that Warren and Wyatt had to have been the ones to take it there, drop it off, and then come back in their vehicles. Meaning that the Triton would have had to have been docked on land and in a parking spot. Could just be sitting there unattached to anything on a trailer, right? And at 9:32 the next morning, the GPS was powered on. Then it was clearly turned off again, and then it was powered on again at 9:51, and the vessel moved 52 feet. Why and how did it move 52 feet? And the Triton doesn't go back out because Warren was on the boat with his family, and Morgan, Wyatt, and Trayston were on the Palm Beach. And about what time did they go out there?
About 7 o'clock that morning, we had all decided that we were going to go out on the boat and look for Nolan. Wyatt had already had his boat still in the water. We were on the water from 9:45 to 11:50.
Oh, you mean the exact time frame in which the GPS kept getting turned on, moved 52 feet, powered on? Y'all, I think that these were the GPS coordinate points for the fucking Palm Beach. Because how would the Triton move 52 feet if it was sitting in a driveway at Wyatt's grandparents' house? And y'all remember, the Palm Beach left before the Triton did. They left Horn Island minutes before. Because again, according to the GPS, the boat was moving the entire time, and it was a good 17 minutes in between it leaving Horn Island and that CTO call. But you may be saying, Jay, the guy said that the Palm Beach was in the water already that morning. It couldn't have traveled to the grandparents' house. But remember, this is what Jack said when they said they wanted to go out and look for him that night.
Thinking about doing it that night.
Yes.
And why didn't you do it that night?
So we already called the Coast Guard at this point. We didn't have access to a boat that was already in the water, ready to go, other than one that I'm just not allowed to use at all. And I was still this close to taking it out.
So where was the Palm Beach, y'all? The Palm Beach was already in the water that morning. How come y'all didn't have a boat that was available for you to use? Because remember when they were like, oh, they're demanding the address of the boat, they were driving to the grandparents' house. Wyatt and Morgan were. And as it turns out, it's actually quite easy to transfer your GPS memory from one boat to another. In fact, it's so easy if you're doing it from one Garmin to another, there's literally an app you can do it on. Remember I told you literally Joseph McGrath worked for IT for the Ocean Marine Group, which is the group that is owned by Jerry Atkerson? Because my guess is they took the coordinates from the Palm Beach and put it into the Triton, but were so tunnel vision focused on the 4th of July that they didn't even think about the 5th. Because I've told y'all, those GPS plotters and everything, you have to do it manually. It's not like an automatic thing, and it's easily changeable. And we don't know what the Palm Beach was even equipped with. I mean, even the GPS seemed a little confused because there is a literal question mark in this report. Why was the GPS turned on 4 times in an hour? Especially here at 9:51, powered on question mark vessel moved 52 feet, and then it was turned on again 2 minutes later. So how did they move it 52 feet? Why did they move it 52 feet? Why did they turn off the GPS and then turn it back on? Almost like Morgan took the Palm Beach and dropped a bunch of people off. That would explain why there are so many data points that are not being accounted for in any of these boys' stories. Because notice, Morgan never tells us what he did after he left in the Palm Beach. Anyway, I'm exhausted. I have spent the last 5 hours recording this video. So if you like what I...
Yo, yeah, this is crazy. Hold on 1 second. Let me see what else you got down here. Hold on 1 second. Where's my new video? Hold on, you guys. That's a day or so. That's 3 days ago. I seen that one 2 months ago. Okay, I guess.
My home has been attacked 3 times this weekend, with last night being their...
Oh, they gone into this lady house. That's crazy. These some sick people. These some sick people. Sick people. Sick people. I don't understand why that. That's the Epstein stuff. All right, let's go. Back home. This has been some crazy shit. Let's go. Let's see what's...
Hey guys, what's going on? Listen, we have a new update in the Nolan Wells case, and it is about the Snapchat, the subpoenas, and how the DA thinks they're slick. But there's a 50-50 chance about whether they're going to get away with it. Okay, you guys, let's get into it. If you guys don't know, there's been a lot of talk about the subpoenas that Ahmad Smith, Ben Crump, and Eric Hart, those are the 3 law firms, the 3 lawyers that are working on the case for Miss Christine Walmsley Wells, and of course, Nolan's daddy. Okay, they have subpoenaed Snapchat. But you guys, in order to understand why the Snapchat thing is so important, but more importantly, in my opinion, why it points to the devious nature of what the DA is doing, this whole thing about give me the phone and what it appears to be them dragging their feet, why it is so devious, we need to go back to the beginning, okay? From the beginning, for whatever reason, okay, Nolan Wells' mama suspected something.
I kind of want to hear her. I don't. I kind of. Okay, let's see what my girl.
Nolan Wells' body was badly decomposed. Who sped up the decomposition phase? Because what we have now learned, if we thought it, we know for a fact, based on a death investigator that stated Nolan's body being in the water for even a couple of days would not have it wouldn't have decomposed his body. Now, some people will say, oh, it's in the Mississippi heat. Did you not understand that the death investigator stated that Nolan's body would not have decomposed like that? I said this from the beginning. I felt like his body, they had did something to his body to actually speed up the decomposition phase. And then I was thinking, well, why would they do that? Well, here's why.
They beat him.
If you had beat somebody up,
they beat him.
And they had physical bruising on their skin, on their face, or something that someone can look at them and say, ooh, they're going to be able to tell. If the body is decomposed, you would not be able to see that. If you guys recall, I believe it was Dr. Mitchell stated that the body was badly decomposed. He was not able to tell that if it was anything on the skin due to the decomposition of Nolan's body. And when I heard that, I said, okay, so that would be a reason that a person would want to speed up the decomposition phase, because we don't want it to look like we jumped on him or we beat him up. Now, what we learned from this death investigator that was just previously on Nancy Grace's channel, he stated that based on what they tried to tell us, okay, is that Nolan drowned. He was in the water. Well, let's just go with that theory for a second. I actually looked it up myself. If a body is left in water, I wanted to know, if a body is left in water for 2 days, would it decompose the body to the point that you're not able to recognize? Obviously, we know if a wildlife or something got a hold to it. Guys, that's not the case here. No wildlife, no animal, nothing did anything to his body, okay? He still had his head. Everything was still there, so get that out your mind. No, a drowned person's body usually does not decompose to the point of being completely unrecognizable in 2 days. And I gave them a day, okay? Because I don't think it was quite 2 days. This is what I love. You can just type stuff in the computer and it will just tell you. This is exactly what this gentleman said. This is what it says. Water actually slows down the initial stages of decomposition compared to air, because water environments are cooler and contain less oxygen. So if Nolan Wells was in the water, like they said, and he just washed up on shore, how in the fruck was his body decomposed like that? I said it. Listen, I'm not a death investigator, but I was like, this don't sound right. How does his body decompose to the point that we got to close the casket, to the point where we need to get dental records, and his body was in water? So they say, that's not possible. That is not possible at all. So this is what I wanted to learn. How do you speed up the decomposition phase? Because, hey, I want to know. This is what I learned. You want to speed up the decomposition. Now, this is in no way telling y'all to go commit any crimes. Please don't do that. We're talking about the Nolan Wells case, in which Nolan Wells was deceased. We're trying to figure out, how did his body decompose so badly? It would decompose in hot, humid areas, not water, okay? Him being in the water would not escalate his decomposition of his body. So if he was held in a hot place, if they put heat on his body, wrapped him in hotness, anything above water where there's air and especially a lot of heat. So some of you guys saying, oh, it happened because he was left on Horn Island. Well, why nobody saw him on Horn Island? That don't make sense. I mean, you don't have to be smart to say, he clearly wasn't on Horn Island. And he clearly wasn't in the water, because if he was in the water, his body would not be decomposed like that. Someone or some bodies, because this is a cover-up, decided, if we want to really conceal this crime, we need to decompose his body as fast as possible, because it's going to cover up all of the bruising, whatever we did to him that escalated his death. Because keep in mind, guys, we're still dealing with that thing in the back of Nolan's head, in which they said it was red back there. And then the district attorney is not releasing the information. But this is something here that I want you guys to understand, because there was a guy that appeared on Nancy Grace's show, and he told us that there's no way, if Nolan Wells' body was in the water, like they say, his body wouldn't have decomposed like that.
Cases where I have seen drownings where the person is underwater for a period of time, their body is pretty well preserved, unless we're talking about like multiple days, weeks that this person is underwater. Usually the water is cooler temperature. And if that person is face down in the water or completely submerged, their body is pretty well preserved until they surface. Usually a body after a couple of days surfaces. So I'm really surprised that he was on the shore. I've never personally investigated a drowning case where a person just ends up on the shore, especially if there's not a strong current or waves. Usually in bodies of water, the person will stay in pretty much the location where they go underwater if it's witnessed. They don't usually move around much after they have submerged or gone underwater. So to me, it's very concerning that he was on the shore or that his body surfaced that quickly. But that's what I am guessing is why they couldn't do an immediate visual identification with the family.
So basically, what this death investigator is saying, it's rather unusual that he was in water, but his body decomposed like that. You guys got to make it make sense. What are you trying to sell us here? You said he drowned. You would have to be in water to drown. But usually if you drown, your body comes up at some point, right? And then you're floating. But in this particular case, what we learned is, okay, his body somehow, what they would like us to believe is that at some point his body came, I guess, to the surface and maybe somehow made it onto the shore. None of that makes any sense. So, I'm not sure if that is exactly what they're trying to sell us, but at any rate, whatever it is that they're trying to sell us, it makes no sense. If Nolan drowned, then his body would not be so decomposed. I mean, if you're going to tell us he drowned, then how did his body get so decomposed? Also, I want you guys to remember this, okay? The Cajun Navy said that Nolan Wells' body did not look bloated. I don't know how a drowned person doesn't have a bloated body.
A body's been floating, you'll see some bloating. I'm trying to think of the most respectful way to say it. The body did not seem at that height to be disproportionate to the way it should look.
Well, doesn't seem like the body was bloated either. So what are we saying here? I mean, you can't have it all these different ways. If he drowned, then how is his body decomposed? Okay. If he drowned, how is his body not bloated? Make it make sense. People feel like Nolan Wells was placed back on that island. Okay. People do not feel like he drowned. Not only was his body allegedly placed back on that island, who sped up the process of Nolan Wells' body being decomposed? Because based on everything that they're saying, it doesn't add up. And it would make a person like me think like, wait a minute, we're missing some things and this doesn't make any sense. This is an elaborate cover-up, corrupt district attorney who needs to be fired. The governor needs to go. All of these people need to go, okay? We cannot make this shit up. We have the corrupt Governor Reeves, which was one of the people that said, oh, Nolan Wells drowned, which he made that statement before a thorough investigation was conducted. And now we learn that he's in bed with these folks. I'm not saying physically in bed, but y'all know what I mean. He is buddy with these folks. So much so, as Bart's mammy, he actually gave her an opportunity. So what are we doing here? This is a cover-up, guys. Did somebody speed up the decomposition of Nolan's body? That's what it seems like. And based on this expert that's coming out, he even stated if the decomposition of Nolan's body does not align with a typical body that would decompose at that rate, that needs to be investigated.
Fingerprints. So I would really like to know more about the condition of the body. That's what I am assessing as a death investigator when I respond to a scene. So there should be a death investigation report from a death investigator who has experience looking at bodies and has experience examining these type of things to show exactly what his condition was when he was found. And if the body is decomposed more than what you would normally expect in a drowning case, that should be a big red flag. That's something.
If his body is decomposed more than it would normally be in these type of cases, why isn't this not being investigated, folks? Nolan was not missing for 2 weeks. Nolan was missing for a day, almost 2 days, but yet his body was so unrecognizable that people originally thought that his body had been burned. Nolan had a closed casket. I don't care what nobody say. Who sped up the decomposition of Nolan's body? I feel like somebody did it. It's simple. What I've learned is if you apply heat, you can, heated blanket, put them somewhere very, very warm. Why did no one see Nolan's body? You have the Cajun Navy stating that they searched the area. The police searched the area. They were in boats, but yet his body just showed up. And did you all remember that the person who allegedly found Nolan, who they claim was a park ranger, was somebody that didn't want to be recognized? Now, as long as we've been talking about this Nolan Wells case, I would have been came out and said, it was me. I'm the one that found Nolan. Why is it that this alleged person, so they say, or was it the Cajun Navy? This confidential person who they claim found Nolan's body, but wants to remain anonymous. I don't trust any of these damn folks.
Or partially in the water, that's really concerning because there's tons of people around that area. If he was in that position or on the shore decomposing for a day or so, why did nobody see him? Those would be my type of questions that I would ask.
Why didn't anybody see him? I mean, none of this shit makes sense. And we have a bunch of corrupt folks who seem to be covering this up. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think in the comments. This is crazy because I said this from the beginning. Like, listen, I was bad in science class. Like, I didn't like science. Okay, so I don't got nothing to do with science. Okay, but I said this don't make sense. It almost seems like his body was decomposed on purpose because I mean, I hear about, different stuff where people have been found weeks later, and I never hear about the body was this badly decomposed. So don't tell me about how damn hot it is in Mississippi when this is a whole damn cover up and you have a bunch of white tea barbaric animals that has participated in the unaliving, in the cover up of a murder that happened to Nolan Wells.
Yo, y'all, that do make sense. I've been asking, right? How long does it take to decompose in a way where you're not recognizable, right? Because I have seen people who have been found a few days later that actually was not even in water, and their parents and family are able to recognize them. He had a closed casket. The girl said that she got word that they had him upside down. That's considered disrespect when they howled him out. for whatever reason, I don't care what nobody say, this behind a girl. We can say whatever we want. I believe this is behind a girl. I do. They saying the boat is sold, y'all. They said the boat sold, y'all.
I mean, some people have been so bold as to go on various interviews and tell the crimes that they committed.
That's Judge Carlos Moore, the self-described people's judge. He went live on August 19th with a different message than most of that day's coverage led with.
Welcome. I'm Judge Carlos Moore, the people's judge. Tonight should have been a celebration for Nolan Wells' 19th birthday. Instead, we're standing in the gap for justice.
Wow.
In fact, neither you nor I should be here on this live tonight.
Moore picks up from where the day left off.
He was found dead on July the 6th, 2026, and the family has been requesting and demanding. We do know that had his death been...
All right, we know that. I need some new stuff. So let's talk about the... They say he did it. Hold on, let me see. Let's see what you got to say. 16 hours ago. I wasn't on yesterday. My
operation. And that's a common practice.
Question. Do you know?
Oh, no. Let's go.
Mad at the people in Mississippi because they are dragging their feet, taking their time. This whole time, you got people out here trying to sell evidence and shit.
The boat already sold. TikTok users leak new mysterious evidence. I need you to let that question sink in for a moment, because if a critical piece of physical evidence tied directly to the death of Nolan Wells was put up for public sale on social media and traded hands while official state autopsy reports remain sealed under lock and key, we are looking at one of the most astonishing failures of evidence control in recent memory. Over the last several days, 5 independent digital sleuths on TikTok have uncovered a series of shocking revelations that completely disrupt the official timeline. We are talking about online listings for a vessel specifically named in state marine reports, the formal hiring of a court-certified audio expert by Nolan's family, newly exposed social media photograph dumps revealing a hidden relationship dynamic, and public statements from witness families declaring that lines have been drawn in the sand. Welcome back to Crime Scene Witness, the space where we pull back the curtain on the darkest human motives, dismantle calculated cover-ups, and expose the truth behind high-profile crimes. If you believe that true crime stories should deliver raw analytical justice without sugarcoating the actions of ruthless individuals, take a moment right now to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel with all notifications turned on, so you never miss an episode where we unmask the truth behind the headlines. To understand how these 5 viral TikTok breakdowns have thrown the entire investigation into chaos, we must examine the core timeline of what transpired on July 4th, 2024. 18-year-old Nolan Wells departed for an outing to Horn Island off the coast of Mississippi aboard a private watercraft surrounded by a group of peers. By the end of that holiday, Nolan had vanished, and 2 days later, his body was discovered washed ashore near the northwest tip of the island. Initial accounts suggested a chaotic boat breakdown, claiming that Nolan voluntarily chose to remain behind, while others left on a vessel that was supposedly taking on water. But as grieving family members began asking basic questions, the stories offered by those present began to fracture under independent digital scrutiny. Take a look at this first viral breakdown that set off alarms across the internet.
Ashley Cole has made a second statement on Facebook. Now, Ashley Cole is the stepmama of one of them boys on the boat. I think Warren Hudson is his name. They see. They're watching. They know Nolan's parents are not playing. We have decided that we will not be speaking to the press at this time. The media is not the appropriate forum to further elaborate on the facts of July 4th, 2026. We realize that the truth will not stop the cause for the death of our small children. We have not had the opportunity to speak to the Wells Wansley family or their attorney. However, we are willing to directly communicate with attorney Ben Crump and the Wells Wansley family. We will provide them with all the proper information known to us so their family can rest and properly mourn. We also want to know what happened to Nolan. We will do everything within our power to assist Nolan's family in their quest for answers. If you go to Facebook and you search her name, you can see the original post. And attached to it, she has some screenshots of her inbox and some video messages that are very disturbing. Go take a look for yourselves.
So it looks like Trayson out here running his mouth. He said he done chose a side.
So we choosing sides now? I'm so confused. Drew a line in the sand and chose a side. What side did you choose? You left out that part. Come back and let us know what side you chose. At this point, why would you say that?
Drew a line in the sand and chose a side. I don't know what side you chose, bruh, but ain't no way. Ain't no way. Brooks Edmiston is selling a boat, y'all. When was a Boston Whaler ever mentioned? Who was on that boat? It's the boat B was driving, allegedly. Bombshell, y'all. Yes, a 1988 Boston Whaler is one of the boats mentioned in the timeline and independent investigative report surrounding the Nolan Wells case.
In this first clip, online investigators discovered a social media listing posted by Brooks Edmiston attempting to sell a 1988 Boston Whaler watercraft online. What makes this listing so deeply alarming is that a 1988 Boston Whaler is not just a random recreational vessel. It is explicitly named in official Mississippi Department of Marine Resources documentation as one of the primary boats present at Horn Island on the day Nolan disappeared. For days, the public watched as that online listing circulated across social media platforms, leaving many to ask whether that crucial piece of physical evidence has already been sold and transferred to a new owner. If a vessel tied directly to an active death investigation was permitted to be sold on the open market, while official state autopsies remain sealed pending a grand jury, it raises profound questions regarding how law enforcement agencies preserved physical evidence during the early hours of this case. Take a look at this second video breakdown regarding the official audio investigation.
I found them. I found all the people that were on Katie's boat, y'all. Shout out to the real Jada J that turned me on to this picture. And as y'all can see, we've got a match with the necklace and the swimsuit. Think I busted out my glasses and red lipstick just for the swimsuit? Nah. As I talked about yesterday, we've all suspected that this is Kendall for a while now. The identity of this curly-haired girl has always eluded us. Well, not anymore, folks. For now, I'm going to just refer to these girls as T and L. As you can see, L clearly has the same kind of hair texture that's in the bottom of this picture. We know that these two were together on 4th of July, and T did not one, but 2 Nolan tributes after his body was found. Now, another one of their friends had a reel, which they did a little panning video on the best 4th of July ever. And who was in that video? Well, that looks to me to be Jacob, Kendall's longtime boyfriend. So it seems confirmation to me that both Kendall and her boyfriend were on this boat the entire day. Now that I have found this group of friends, I was scouring the pictures and I found this. We've got Elle with somebody I immediately recognized because I remembered that swimsuit, and they tried to hide this picture in a document dump so you didn't know what day it was. Well, if it isn't Nevaeh. Oh, she back! She back! Same swimsuit, same belly ring, and there she is clearly earlier in the day with Kendall, clearly on the same boat. And just in case you didn't see my video on the Tube of You yesterday, or just need a reminder, here was the friend group breakdown that I had. But to me, this seemingly clearly confirms that these two were on this boat probably all day. I say this because there's another picture from the summer with Nevaeh with the little pink cup right here. You can see the pink cup in the lap of Kendall up here, along with the matching, poles and this, all of it matches. Now I want to go back to this picture because in the background there, we see somebody seemingly approaching the group to join them to go out in red shorts. And y'all know that I've been saying for a while that in my humble opinion, I believe that the person in red shorts is Warren's brother. But now I also think there's a strong possibility that it could be Lainey's boyfriend, Drew. Just as further confirmation, these glasses match the glasses that are in the Katie Snapchat. I think it's pretty safe to say that we definitely found the people that were on the boat with Katie. Now here's where it gets a little interesting to me though. Look at how late in the day this picture seems to be taken. And they clearly were still out at night. So did they drop everybody else off? Did they come back out? Got a lot of unknowns here, but I did my social media scour. And let me explain to you what I found. So we've got L and T on the boat with Kendall and Nevaeh, like we've confirmed that. We also know at some point Katie was on the boat with them as well. T was the only one that seemed to be connected to Nolan on social media. Now, remember how the person who released the Snapchat pictures of Katie said that they were not friends with her? Well, I found that T was actually connected to a lot of people social media-wise, whether they were following her or she was following them. I was able to find Javon. I was able to find Ava D, the girl from the party. I was able to find the entire Hudson family, as well as Katie, Lainey, Trin, Ava, all of the other friend group, the core group that I talked about yesterday. And I found out that L was either following or was followed by Ava, Jax, and Bart. Now here's the real kicker. When I went to T's Book of Face page, I found out that she was FB friends with not only Warren's mom, but Bart's mom as well, and several other adults that are close friends with that mom group. And I also found out that Lainey and Nevaeh are both friends with the older McGrath brother, but it seems like he was in Texas at the time, so most likely he was not on the boat or around for this. However, he does have a younger brother who is friends with T on social media. And that makes me wonder if the younger McGrath brother might have been on that boat. Now remember, Lainey said that she was not on Horn Island. She was with a different group of friends on a different island altogether. But now I'm wondering if this boat, this group, might have been the other group that they got into the altercation with. Because remember, they specifically said that they knew the guy, like knew of him, but they weren't like friends with him. Because does nobody else think it's weird that whoever else they were fighting on the beach hasn't come forward? Especially if they were people that didn't really know these people? But could this boat have been the fourth boat that we've seen? Because if this is the same red shorts guy, then how did he get onto the other boat?
This second revelation details a major strategic escalation by the Wells family legal team. While independent audio examiner Janetta Brantley previously ran frequency isolation on the emergency sea tow dispatch recording, isolating background chatter and bringing out the name Bart before it was ever made public, critics online attempted to dismiss her work as unverified. In response, Nolan's family officially retained a certified forensic audio engineer to conduct an exhaustive analysis of that 8-minute recording. By bringing in an accredited expert, the family is establishing an official, court-admissible record that isolates every background vocal frequency, engine noise, and muted conversation. This move effectively silences skeptics and creates an undeniable evidentiary transcript for grand jury evaluation. Take a look at this third clip exposing the newly discovered friend group dynamics.
Since March of last year, 17 months, there's been 24 African Americans, as of today, 24 African Americans found hanging from trees across the United States of America. Just this past week alone, there's been at least 2 cases. You understand? And in case after case after case, the local coroners very predictably declared these as without any serious forensic investigation taking place at all. No follow-up. You understand me? Not to mention the Nolan Wells case from the 4th of July, when he went out with those 4 or 5 white kids in Mississippi. They came back and he didn't come back. You understand? And all those white boys, they're the sons of the local power structure. That's who they are. They shrug their shoulders. Their parents shrug their shoulders. The police shrug their shoulders. The judges, the media, the power structure, everybody shrugs their shoulders about what could have possibly happened to Nolan Wells. It's a mystery, which makes it no mystery at all. Which makes it no mystery at all. But see, they'll gaslight you into thinking that you're being overly suspicious. You're being overly cynical. And the problem is that you want answers, not that they don't have any answers. The problem is that you want the answers that they don't have, which is just a way to try to make you accept that same unspoken answer that Black communities in Mississippi and throughout the South and throughout the United States always got. You understand me? About Nolan Wells and about the other 24 African Americans found dangling from tree branches across that country. Never mind that Black Americans are demographically the population that is absolutely the least likely group of people to ever commit by hanging themselves. That's documented. That's not an opinion. So when a method that is statistically rare for this specific population, when that shows up again and again and again in public spaces, in trees, outside of schools, outside of homes, and it gets closed as a suicide without any comprehensive investigation whatsoever, without any real forensic follow-through, well, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody understands what's going on. Listen, 24 in 17 months, that is roughly equivalent to the rate of lynchings in America during the 1920s. You understand me? No, when a Black person is found hanging from a tree in the United States of America, the default assumption of investigators should always be lynching. It's like if a woman turns up dead, the first thing that you're going to do is suspect the husband or suspect her ex, right? You start with a presumption of foul play. You start with a presumption of homicide. You start with a presumption of foul play, which is exactly what you should do in every single one of these cases. If you find a Black person hanging from a tree in America, you should treat it the same as if you see someone who's been double tapped in the back of the head. And if you do rule it as the moment that you zip up the body bag, why, we have every reason to believe that you're the one who did it. Yes, and you're going to have to prove otherwise. I'm telling you. If you rule something like that, as a suicide, that ruling is in and of itself incriminating evidence against you. You can't tell anyone, you can't tell any serious intelligent person that there's no evidence of foul play. No, if an African American is hanging from a tree in the United States of America, that is the evidence of foul play by default. You might as well say that Jake himself before you say that a Black man or a Black woman strung themselves up in Mississippi and expect anyone to believe you. And if you say they did that, then we need to search your property for ropes. You understand? Especially when you claim before you've even cut them down from the tree.
So people are saying it's the police, and I'm screaming it from the mountaintops. It's the effing cops or the 3Ks or both. How much of a difference is there?
Y'all, we're about to get some answers regarding that CTO call because Nolan Xavier Wells' family went and hired an audio expert to analyze and break down completely that CTO call. We all know that we heard what we heard when it was officially released by the MDMR. And of course, there was a lot of skeptic people out there thinking that those that enhanced it so that they could hear clearly what we all heard, assumed or thought that they inserted certain names or they inserted certain things but we all know what we heard. Anyways, at the end of the day, prayerfully, we will get some answers. Obviously, when the family sees fit to share what the experts find. And so, because, I don't know about nobody else, but for me, I was feeling like Vicky was asking specific questions because she heard what we heard as well. But we're about to find out because, again, they went and hired an audio expert that's going to break it all down for them, prayerfully for us too. And because they are crossing every T and dot.
This third deep dive breakdown by independent researchers completely reshapes the underlying motive theory. For weeks, public focus centered on rumors involving a young woman named Katie. However, by cross-referencing metadata, swimsuit patterns, necklace matches, and archived social media connections, digital sleuths uncovered evidence indicating that Nolan was actually linked to a young woman named Lainey. At the time of the island trip, Lainey was reportedly dating a young man named Drew Johnson, an individual explicitly named in official Marine reports, and notably the only person from that immediate peer group who was connected to Nolan on social media. This discovery introduces a completely new personal dynamic, raising fresh questions about who was present on specific boats, which vessels were tied together near the island, and what specific friction led to the reported altercations on the beach. If you are still watching at this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is truly following this shocking story of digital evidence, conflicting statements, and the search for justice for Nolan Wells. Ashley Cole, stepmother of Warren Hudson, issued a formal public statement on social media declaring that their family will no longer engage with public media outlets. Instead, she stated that they are willing to communicate directly with civil rights attorney Ben Crump and the Wells family legal team to provide whatever information they possess. Simultaneously, social media posts from individuals connected to the group declared that lines have been drawn in the sand and sides have been chosen. When families and witnesses shift from early unified accounts toward issuing formal legal disclaimers and public line-in-the-sand declarations, it signals that the narrative presented on July 4th is actively breaking down under pressure.
Thank you for hanging in there with me, you guys. I normally am not up this type of morning, but my son had his baby girl. I didn't get to go live, so I will replay this tomorrow because I still would be busy. That's why I'm up. I'm still up. I'm still, have nothing but joy. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at all this stuff that's going on, you guys. You can come up if you want. If you want to give your opinion or whatnot, because I am finna get my button get knocked out. I gotta get up in the morning. But all jokes aside, you guys, I'm truly, truly, truly am sad. And I'm not going to nobody for answers anymore. We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect the community. We got to figure out how to protect our children, our daughters, our sons. Like I said, like I have never in my life seen a Black person hang themselves. And I'm going to tell you, this is extremely too many. You know what I mean? Like Black people will like immediately, let's get this over with. If they're going to do something as dumb as that, right? They're not gonna want to suffer if they're gonna do something to themselves, right? So I don't know about any other culture, but I know ours don't do that. And I've been seeing this over and over and over. And I do think it's the police. I think it's some people that are not real, like real citizens that care about people that gets in these positions because Black people are gonna be a police. Why not? You know what I mean? But you don't want to, cool. So we're going to keep crying about the same shit over and over and over, right? So I believe that certain group of ethnic people who are racist, not even racist, hateful as fuck, barbarian behavior, no matter what their race is, we're not going to just label white people. I just had an encounter with a Spanish person. Her supervisor called me because I contact the attorney affairs. And I contact everybody. I'm going to also contact her licensing. You know what I mean? Because threatening me, I'm going to look at you laugh because I'm a paralegal and I'm going to put the pen and paper together straight up. You know what I mean? Ain't no more arguing. I told him, he called me. I said, look, me and my kid's finna have his baby. You have to come back in 30 minutes. He didn't come back in 30 minutes. He said he'll be gone for a few days. Cool with me, boo. Because I'm going after her license. And that's what y'all got to stop fussing with these people. Because they have bonding license. When they do something unethical and you feel like you're being violated as a citizen and they could tell you one thing and the law says another thing, that's why I'm getting busy with her. I'm not going to argue about nothing at all with nobody. And if he get to whatever and say, okay, I hear you, I'll just do what I have to do, sir. You have a great day, though. You know what I mean? I'm not playing with nobody no more, right? It's like, oh, you were just slaves and stuff. Oh, they didn't let you sit on the back of the bus. The same girl from Mississippi who really didn't give her seat up, pregnant, 15 years old, she took them to the Supreme Court and won. And then Mississippi copied off Mount Zion in Louisiana Baptist Church when they had a boycott going on with the buses. It's just everybody takes stuff and try to use it and make history with it. It's bullshit. All this immaterial, I get it. A lot of y'all, listen, what I have learned, a lot of pictures have been photoshopped so we could look and be educated on shit that never happened. Videos, Photoshop. I mean, like AI. AI been here before we start using it. You get what I'm saying? It's been here before we start using it. My family, my people were not slaves. We were mentally to think that we were in slavery. All this, they slept with the master and all that. Prove that shit to me now. Show me pictures, because white people who will humiliate the hell out of you. They will humiliate the hell out of you and show you that stuff. There's no physical pictures of none of that. I'm from Louisiana. I am a part of the Creole Maroons. They were Creole, went to war, they they became the Maroons. They made an agreement with the United States because they ran a massive part of the Mississippi. They conquered Baton Rouge. Anything that don't say Florida was a part of Baton Rouge. They play so many games, bro. Like, life is just really, 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 really. Life is a lie. Look up Naba. Naba is the creator of all gods. She's a woman. You got to stop praising a man. And it's just the truth. Look at the tablets. It's in the tablets. I got a video on TikTok right now. It breaks it down. Go to my Instagram. It's the same as Erica Trinell. It's there. Like history is there. They erase history. If they erase history, they don't know how to run this world. So stop letting them lie and tell you shit. Only thing they did was you had leaders, like, say for instance, Baton Rouge had, like, they paid tolls, they paid to cross from Louisiana to another state, which all was like considered countries, right? That's the only thing they did. And they didn't do it. Let me take that back about they. When people go to war and they lose, they will kill the leader. I don't know what you called it back then. They will kill him. No white people will kill him. Black people will kill him because they were dishonored. Then they got lenient. They start just demoting them instead of killing them. So all this stuff, they took history, repackaged it, made it the way it was. Everybody got to stop lying. We had digital service. We have the Nationalization Act for white people. We have the Mann Act is the White Slavery Act for the women to protect them when they came here. So we got to stop all the lie. We got immigrants, and you can get mad. Immigrants are running our country. Bottom line. They're trying to kick immigrants out when they're a descendant of immigrants. It's time for you to understand who you are. We're going to all live on this land, no matter who came first, right? You have to, the United States created their own shit. They made agreements with other people. Listen, all that Florida this and this. No, go read really about Louisiana. It's in the archives. I was shocked. I was shocked about a lot of shit. They had all the leaders from every state, what we call states now, in there. They in there. They ain't destroy history. If they destroy history, they wouldn't know how to function. They cannot function without going back, referring back to how things were done. So they're not going to destroy it. So don't believe that. So let me get back to, man, this shit just get on my damn nerves. It just does. It just get on my nerves, get on my nerves, get on my nerves. I don't want to, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to get back on here tomorrow, you guys. I'm thankful. I only been up not even a month, and I've been getting so many people viewing. You get a few haters. I only got one hater. Oh, you just watch videos. Yeah, I want to hear what everybody have to say so we can all give our damn opinion. What the hell is wrong with you? You watch videos, you watch TikTok, you watch Instagram. We all do the same shit. So what? But anyway, you guys, y'all have a great day. Thank y'all for the love. I'm going to put clips back out. This going to be revisit tomorrow. Probably I'm going to set it for like 1 o'clock so we can see girl Pinky, whatever her name, she rolling. Y'all support her because she's taking time out of her life to really, really, really investigate. She's investigating. She's breaking down. She's doing her thing. And I can't hate on that. I don't care what her race is, but I just cannot hate on it at all. But y'all have a great day. I'm gonna go take I got what, 3 hours? I think 2 hours I can get some sleep. Probably 3. Stretch another hour because I gotta be back up. Y'all just finished the K to 12 high school. I'm gonna target adults that don't have the high school diploma, and also we're gonna do job replacement work. Job readiness skills and everything else. I'm almost done with that part, and I will be promoting harder. So thank you guys so much for even tuning in this time of morning. Everybody should be asleep, going to work, but you up with me. Have a great day.
Looking for a K-12 education that goes beyond the textbook, right from the comfort of home? Welcome to a new standard of online learning.
Beyond general education, our students dive into specialized virtual labs for real-world job readiness. Genealogy lab, historical lab, civil law, and our media and public speaking lab.
We prepare global citizens with immersive Spanish and French language tracks. And because we're proudly Florida-based and Step Up certified, families can access the elite education through state scholarship programs.
Diverse representation, academic excellence, and career readiness, delivered entirely online, wherever you are. Secure your child's spot today. Secure your child's spot today. Visit our website to enroll.